What do I say, a call to order?
Yes, sir.
Is that how that works? All right, still getting that part down. You may do the roll call real quick, is that all right?
Okay.
Wendell Huggins?
Here.
Dustin Seaton?
Here.
Dr. Smith?
Here.
Cammie's on here, but she has, resigned her seat, so she's not here. And Alex Baldwin, I'm here. Approval of December 2014 meeting minutes. Motion to approve.
Move, they are extensive and complete and correct, and I move we dispense with the reading and approve them as presented.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? No. All right. Approval of meeting agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Hearing none, the meeting agenda is approved. So, Fritz, do you want to jump into the new business, or?
I'd be happy to. There are two items of new business for the board to consider this evening. The first is the board report to City Council, and just to bring you up to speed, Mr. Chairman, every year by the ordinance that is set up and governs the Telecommunications Board, you're required to provide an annual report to the City Council regarding the activities and what the plans are for the next year. It is actually paragraph C. The Telecommunications Board shall have authority to establish, oh, that's the wrong section, sorry about that. There is a requirement in the ordinance to provide a report to the City Council. Usually what that is a letter from the chair that just outlines, this is what was done in 14 with the things that we're responsible for, and this is what we see coming up this next year and what we're going to be looking at.
Okay.
So, I'm sure Director of Communications Lindsley Smith and Dan Robinson will provide whatever kind of support that you need to put that letter together to provide to the City Council.
Okay.
And you also might want to talk to Blake Pennington, who's former chair, and Dr. Smith, who's former chair of the board, and get a little help from them as well, because they've done it before.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Is there a template, like last year that we have to go off of or anything, or just,
I believe so.
Okay. Okay. Good.
I'll get it to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Sorry, Chris, what's the date on that? Do I have to have that in at a certain time? What's the time
There doesn't
frame?
say that there's an actual date, it just says yearly.
Okay.
Looks like yesterday, according to Rule 33.21 of the duties. Section 2.
Yeah.
We make sure that's in the minutes.
Yeah. That's funny. I'll do that. All right. Okay, I'll get started on that.
Okay.
I hope they will read it. We never get any feedback from them
Mhm.
on any of those. If they read them or have any reaction to it, we never know. So.
Or they never get back to us. Okay. Okay.
Or at least since I've been on the board.
Okay. I mean, is that something that we should approach them about and follow up with them and just say, hey, did you get it? Any thought, discussion around it? Or is it like no news is good news, or?
The latter, probably.
I think no news is good news.
Okay. Okay. We'll let it lie then, all right.
I can tell you this, that the council does value the opinion of this board. That's one of the reasons why we bring things that are like public access contract, things like that, that would have a good review by this body, and then we take that, as staff, we take that to the council when we propose these things to the council and say the Telecommunications Board did have an opportunity to review this issue. This board has created and has implemented some resolutions that the council was very grateful that this board took the initiative to do that and make those resolutions. Then I was able to take them to the council, and the council endorsed them and passed a full resolution with the council support through that. And so just to give you that little bit of feedback from my perspective as staff and dealing with the council myself, they value the opinion of this board, and it's helpful for us as staff as well to have this board to review some of the things that we do.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the board report, city council? What you got? You good?
No, I don't.
5B, proposed changes to telecom board ordinance.
This was an item that I was requested to look at and by the board, and look at it from the perspective of the fact that there was Act 276 of the 2013 legislative session, eliminated franchising, essentially, of cable and providers within a municipality. So, to take a look at the government channel, or not the government channel, the telecommunications board ordinance as it stood, the code with the city, and make proposed changes for you as a board to review and then possibly send on. Make whatever changes you might want to make. Then the next step would be to take this to the city attorney, because the city attorney actually is the one who writes ordinances, and then that may go to the council. These are my initial suggestions as I went through and reviewed the code as it stands right now. What you see as the strikeout is the things that I suggest to delete, and the underline is the things that I suggest to add. My recommendations are based on just a few points. One is that, again, the franchise situation where the city no longer holds franchise agreements, as franchise agreements are technically known, with the multi-channel video service providers. That being AT&T and Cox, specifically for the city of Fayetteville. So, that being the case, we never did have an actual franchise agreement with AT&T. There's an operations agreement with AT&T to allow them to avoid litigation, basically. It was never a situation where they had to be allowed to provide the service that they do, the television service that they, but to avoid the litigation that might possibly come from that, we got an agreement with them. AT&T does pay a 5% service charge, the same way that Cox has paid a 5% service charge for a franchise fee, but now that is dictated by state statute.
Mm-hmm.
So since we don't have even the opportunity as a city to require a franchise agreement for a video services provider to provide those services within the city, I looked at the ordinance from that perspective, or I looked at the code from that perspective in terms of deleting references to those kinds of things. A really good example of that would be performance of any cable operator, IP television provider, or telecommunications franchisee serving the city with regard to customer service, technical standards, programming requirements of the applicable franchise agreement. Since that doesn't exist anymore, my recommendation is that we delete that language from the code. The second point that I looked at, or the second thing that I took into account when I was looking at this, was clarity. You'll see a lot of changes in the very beginning where it says definitions of education channels, government channels, and public access channels. My initial read on this showed that there was a lot of disparity between how they were defined. In other words, it wasn't consistent how the language was written between those three definitions. And so my recommendation as you read these is that it doesn't really change the definition, but it clarifies the wording, and it takes out some of the verbiage that was more what I considered to be almost more policy oriented from the operations. And I'll give you an example for that. Under the definition of government channel, the original verbiage says the station shall be operated in an unbiased manner. I have, as an example, the issues that, like for that particular phrase, it's not a station, it's a channel. So you have discrepancy between, is it a channel or a station? They call it a government channel, but then down here in this phrase they call it a station. And so that's inconsistent, that makes it unclear. And then the other thing about that is shall be operated in an unbiased manner. As a telecommunications board code, my opinion was that didn't belong in this code, because that would be in a policy document that regulated the operation of the government channel, which the city council has separately considered, and there is a policy document for the operation of the government channel that the city council has approved. So to have this in here, I believe, made it unclear for the telecommunications board. So that's another part, or another perspective that I considered the verbiage. And then there were a few outmoded and outdated terminology in here. For example, we don't really refer to it as cable casting programming anymore, because we don't just send stuff out over cable. It also goes out over AT&T UVerse, and it streams live on the internet, and there are other possibilities. So it's not just cable casting, it's telecasting, and making those kinds of changes, and then a few typos and some grammatical errors and things like that to clean up. So those are my suggestions. Again, the strikeouts are the deletions, and the underlines are the additions. And if you look at it as a PDF that I sent you electronically, they're actually a different color, is what helped it be more clear. So this is what I'm presenting to you as my suggestions. At this point, how the board would want to move forward. The next step in the process would be, however the board wants to review this, make whatever other suggestions. They can be incorporated into a final document that can be reviewed again, but ultimately it needs to go to the city attorney for final, the final form writing before it goes to, proposed to city council.
Okay. Has anybody, have we had a chance to read through some of these changes Fritz is talking about?
I read it online on the PDF. I think they're well considered and wise and cleaned up, and commend you on a good job getting it done for us. It just reflects the reality that cable lobbyists were able to cut their own deal with the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
And not much we can do about that, except
Okay.
change our statutes to reflect our ordinances. I would move that we submit this to the city attorney for form before recommending to the city council.
Okay.
I second that. Was that a formal?
Yeah.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. Do we want to put a time frame on this? What's the next step since it's been approved? How does that work? Do we send it to Kip, or how's that work?
I will get that ball in motion
Okay.
tomorrow, and then request that Blake Pennington, who's the assistant city attorney, maintain communication with you guys. So
Okay.
that's where that's going to go.
Does this part need to be included in the annual review to the city council at all?
For 2015.
Okay, cool. So.
So, no, to answer your question, what you're preparing now.
Yeah, so then, if the city council gets it, are they gonna put a lot of time going into it, you feel like, or they feel like they'll take our recommendations and approve it, or what's the?
I strongly suspect, my anticipation would be that once the city attorney has rewritten it, vetted it the way the attorney needs to, that it would then just essentially be putting it into an agenda packet, and that I imagine it might even go on a consent agenda, that the city council will look at it, consider it in the agenda session, put it on a consent agenda, and pass it. Because the board will have endorsed it 100%, the city attorney's going to look at it and say, yeah, that's good, and go forward with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And then the city clerk will codify it, and it will replace, the verbiage will get replaced in the city code.
So should any provision of the ordinance get kicked back from the city attorney's office, would it come back to our board for revision?
Yes,
or- okay.
yeah. Yeah, that needs to come back to you guys for review if he says that. But it will be a very legal type of issue if he kicks anything back.
Defer to the lawyers with
Absolutely.
years and years and years and years of experience in the room for that. Okay. Okay, good. Any other discussion around that? Very good. Rich, you want to go with the
I will be glad to jump right into that. I'm going to turn the lights off so you can see the graphics on the wall there a little bit better. We didn't get to have a meeting in January, unfortunately, but here we are, so we're going to go forward just like it was February and we had a meeting in January. But real quick, just like we usually do, here are your viewership numbers for the month of January. On Granicus for our meetings, State of the City meeting, the archive was viewed 196 times. I believe I did a little bit of work with the mayor on that address. I thought he did a great job on that, and I had the opportunity to, like I said, to work with him some, and I think it was a great State of the City address for 2015, and obviously it got viewed several times. Good message in there. 816 total views for different media, whether those live events or archives, and it's a nice diverse selection, everything from the Water and Sewer Committee to City Council meetings. So there's your top 10. Where are they coming from? Same thing we see pretty much every month, directly from the website. And give you a real quick update. This is a little off topic, but the website for the City of Fayetteville, by the time the tentative launch date for the new website, just tentative, will be before the next Telecom board meeting, so possibly have an opportunity to look at the new website in your next meeting.
And what was that domain again?
It is Fayetteville-AR.gov.
This question is not important, but there's 3 different Facebook links on there. Can you tell me what those are?
Well, the m.facebook.com is a mobile version
Oh, okay.
of Facebook.
Okay.
And then the facebook.com at the bottom is the standard desktop Facebook interface. And the L. Dan, have you ever seen that before?
I have not.
I think that's the first time I've seen the L. Facebook, but I would imagine that it is, it may be something that is optimized for tablets or something like that. Those are usually, when you see the letter in front of it, it's a different format. The T.co, that is a URL condenser. If you guys follow anything on Twitter or anything like that, you'll see sometimes it says bit.ly, bit.ly. You have these long URLs that will compress them down. T.co is one of those. And then it's also interesting to see that we're getting links from Washington County, and that's because there's a link on the county's website to our view page to watch quorum court meetings. And then, of course, the Fayetteville Flyer also does a city council recap, and they link back to the view page. So we're getting other websites that are linking back to the viewability of our meetings, which I think is a great way to get that expanded out there even further for folks. This is where they're coming from. This is where they live. Pretty much all over the United States, from Dallas to Oklahoma City. I have no idea why there's 18 people in Amsterdam that wanted to. You guys don't know anybody who's took a jaunt overseas that is from Fayetteville, do you? But these are the unique visitors from these areas. And again, the heat map there on the right shows you that it is primarily concentrated in northwest Arkansas, which is what we would expect. Facebook. This is the summary for January for Facebook. I'm sorry, YouTube. And as you can see, there were 2,118 views of YouTube videos with well over 3,000 estimated minutes watched, and 9 additional subscribers in the month of January.
What the comment was on that?
Do what?
So there was one comment.
I didn't.
Recollection.
I didn't pull that one up. No, actually I did. It was on this Parks and Recreation video, which is the #1 up there. It was a comment that they liked it. So here's the top 10. Today in America got beat out by the Fayetteville, Arkansas Parks and Recreation. That got linked all over the place. And it just shows the power of the social media linking for getting the word out and getting people to see different things. And as these videos are watched, we get great communication to our residents. You have Green Your Life Christmas trees. That was information about how if you had a live tree, what to do with it, and that the city would collect it from the curb and put it in our composting program.
So is that telling us about when they're 1,069 views, so basically they're all, for every view they're watching it almost a minute?
You can kind of look at it that way. I guess on average, that's a little misleading. When they say estimated minutes watched, you have to know how long the program was.
I see.
So when you look at Today in America, that's 5 minutes. I know that that's a 5-minute program. So when you look at that and you say, well, it was clicked on basically 302 times and a little over 765 minutes watched. That doesn't necessarily mean that nobody watched it all the way through.
Right.
But somebody might have watched it for 2 minutes, and somebody
Right.
might have watched it for 30 seconds, and somebody watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
So on the Parks and Recreation, it was watched pretty much all the way through. It was 1 minute and 9 seconds long, is how long it is. So it's a pretty close estimation, and people pretty much watched it all the way through. Well, for a minute, pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah. This is the demographics that we look at. Sometimes you can tell a little bit about this, sometimes you can't. I look a lot at the Discovery down there, YouTube watch page, that's where people are watching the videos. Because these videos can be embedded, as it says, embedded player on other websites. And if you do stuff with Facebook, you'll see stuff scroll up. Some of that stuff's hosted on YouTube channels. And so that's where I think you're gonna see that number increase, that embedded player on other websites. You're very possibly gonna see that ratio change when the new website launches, as you see video programming that we host on our YouTube channel but is embedded in the new website. The new website will have that capability, whereas we don't have that now. Right now, all we can do is link to it. Okay, a little bit of insight into the video on demand work that was done through 2014. Because December was not available at our last meeting, I wanted to share this with you. So this is the entire year. In December, we had 1,185 views of YouTube and 784 in Granicus. You can see, of course, August, that's the one that spiked way up there, and we know what happened with that, with the big interest in the city council meeting. But I look at this, and it's almost random, interesting, but I guess it just kind of follows what people are interested in. So there's no real trending here to me of viewership. And then 2015, this month, we had 2,118 views on YouTube and 816 on Granicus. So that's right there at almost 3,000, and we'll see how that goes forward. But you'll notice that here in 14, in January, we were pretty close to that same number. And I'll be interested to see how this goes forward through 15 to see how that compares. Here's 13 versus 14 totals. This is YouTube and Granicus together. As you see, again, it's kind of hard to identify any real trends. Some of it was pretty close to matching, and some of it wasn't. But then we got back close together again in December. Okay. Oh, there we go. I want to give you guys a little bit of information about our production activity in 2014. I'm not going to do a full here's a year recap in review, but just to give you guys an idea of what your government channel staff is doing and what kind of work load that they're dealing with and what kind of service they provide their residents and the viewers. In 2014, for the government channel covered a total of 358 meetings of boards, commissions, committees, etc. in the city of Fayetteville. That also includes the A&P Commission and the Washington County Quorum Court. That's an average of 30 a month. It was a total of 390 hours and 3 minutes, averaging 32.5 minutes per meeting. Some meetings don't go very long, and some go a long time, as we know. So, we did see a yearly increase of approximately 3 per month over 2013, and an additional increase of, on average, 28 minutes. So, just to show you that the workload is increasing. Well, how are we dealing with that increasing workload without adding personnel is that we're always trying to find ways for technology to increase the efficiency of the work. Non-meeting production, we did 36 different pieces of what we call non-meeting production. That's everything from Emmy Award-winning television spots to Green Your Life, a Green Your Life program of how to clean with using chemicals. And that was a total of 17 and a half hours of production there. Now, non-meeting production takes a lot longer to do, and it's a lot more involved. But that's the public service programming that we provide. And then 864 bulletin board messages. As you're aware, we do meeting schedules and other messaging on the government channel. And so that's how many separate ones we did in 2014. So that's where the staff ended up in terms of total activity in 2014 with everything that they did. I wanted to share that with you because I knew that you would be interested in that. I'm going to make this comment about what the staff has done and continues to do. That group of people has worked harder than any group of people I've ever worked with in my life in the last 5 years. What they've accomplished in the last 5 years is absolutely tremendous. I went back and looked at some of the performance numbers in the quarterly reports from 2009 and 2010. And back then, in 2009, I can tell you, because I just looked at some of those numbers, they were doing 23 meetings a month, and now they're doing 30. Why? Because the board has supported us and because the council has supported us to update our technology. And so we get these things like rooms like 326 that have remote controlled recording systems, and we're able to invest in that technology. However, we're at a point now where we've pretty much reached the end of that road. The city's been great about investing in technology, but if we're going to realize any more increases in the productivity of the staff of the government channel, there's going to need to be some investment in people. So I'll put that forward to the board because I know anytime something that comes along that deals with the operations of the television center, it's going to come to this board first. So just to give you that assessment and allow you to be thinking about that as we move into the future. That's all I have for that report at this point in time. Are there any questions?
What do you attribute the Parks and Rec piece soaring above Today in America for the first time?
Linking. Absolutely linking. They got put out on Facebook. You had a lot of people that shared it, and then they shared it, and then they shared it, and it just kept going out like that. And the fact that it was short. You know, people would see it, they'll watch it. People will watch a minute. People will watch 30 seconds. But in terms of actual views and the number of views, linking, social media, absolutely.
Anytime you produce something new on our YouTube channel, do we as a board get to see it, like the finished product?
Whenever you want.
I think that'd be neat. You know, like every time something new's produced, we can watch it. Because I remember sitting, you know, when we met that one day, you know, in your office, and you showed me the videos. I mean, shame on me, I'd never gone online and actually watched them. And when I finally saw them, I was like, man, those are really neat. You know, they did a really good job with those. And I think maybe, especially for newer board members, to kind of see the finished product and all the work that goes into it, I was really impressed.
What I can do is, excuse me, there was something. I'll talk to the staff and ask them anytime that they release a new video on YouTube is to send the board a specific email with a link to it.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Would that work?
Yeah. Or we could just watch it here. I mean, if we wanted to do that in our meetings, whatever. Yeah, it's great.
Anything else?
What does that mean, you know, when you were mentioning the staffing issues and stuff, I mean, and how it's going to come to us first? What does that mean? I know it's a broad question, but, you know.
So let me do this for the viewers real quick. Let me turn the lights back on if we're going to, so as we discuss. discuss some more things. Basically, what that means is that, according to the ordinance, this board is tasked with overseeing the operations and management of the television center. So anything that has to do with with that, you advise the council on. Now, as staff, I can say to the administration, we're gonna need, if you want more, we're gonna need to have more people. Now, that's easy to do. As we found out and as we have learned, it's not always easy to get more staff. However, a case being made, if say X wanted to be accomplished, if you'll recall, last year, this board requested that the proceedings of the district court be covered. This board recommended that. The administration, for its reasons, declined to take that forward to the council. This board has the option, since you are the council's advisors, you advise the city council, you have the option of approaching city council directly, and contacting your alderman and saying, I want to sit down and talk to you about this, and moving forward with that. And maybe an alderman would bring that forward.
I think we included it in our annual message.
So, I feel because the ordinance that the city council passed states that the telecommunications board is responsible for the oversight and and advising them on the operations of the television center, that anything that has to do with the operations of that facility, whether it's technology, whether it's operations, personnel, adding people, direction, policy, anything, and all of that needs to come to the board for your review and your consideration. And then what I've always done with that in the past is, if you had a position, if the board has a position, and hopefully it'll be endorse it once we get through all of the issues. But then when I present that as a staff item to the council, then I can say, your telecommunications board endorses this proposal.
What type of man-hours or personnel are we looking at? How many individuals? Talking about 2 more people?
Oh, in terms of increases?
Right.
That's all going to be determined by what may be requested in the future. Right now, everything is where things are, we're good. But if we add 2 more meeting bodies, 2 more committees get created, or, something like that, that's where all that juggle comes in. So if you'll recall last year, as part of the proposal of adding the district court coverage, my recommendation and my assessment was, we cannot do that without adding another person.
Right.
We wouldn't be able to add that workload onto the existing staff, and still be able to cover everything that we need to cover. So that's where that comes in, and then it really does come down to requests. So we get another request for 1 or 2 or meeting groups. Sometimes it depends on their schedule, depends on when are they going to meet, how often are they going to meet, and those kinds of things have to be assessed on an individual basis.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for clarifying that. That's a clear expectation.
And thank you for your wonderful service to the city, too. We're going to miss you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I was going to do it at the announcements, but I'll do it right now. To tell the board, this is my last City of Fayetteville Telecommunications Board meeting. I have accepted a position as the Director of Communications for the City of Jonesboro, Arkansas, and my last day with the City of Fayetteville will be tomorrow, February 20th. It's been an amazing opportunity and an amazing experience to have been a part of what this city has seen this board and the staff at the television center be able to do in the past 5 years, from where it was to where it is today. I'm proud to be able to say that I was a part of that. I'm proud anytime somebody comes in there that hasn't been into the television center in a couple of years, and they see the changes that we've made, and they're totally impressed with the work that not only is the city staff done, but the public access contractor has done. It is a very, very different place than it was in 2009. When I took the helm in April of 2009, so it's been almost exactly 6 years, and it's been just a humbling and awesome and unbelievable experience. But sometimes it's time to move on, and there are other opportunities that have opened up, and I'm going to leave Fayetteville with great anticipation, but no small regret either.
Yeah.
There's going to be but I will always take this experience with me, and I'm sure the city of Jonesboro will be grateful for the advantage of the experience that I've had here.
Yeah. In your Grammy.
We thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to note that in all the meetings I've been on the board, you've been very professional, and so you'll be definitely missed. We'll
Thank you, sir.
definitely have a void and big shoes to fill.
Yeah. What's that look like, by the way? They're interviewing, I saw something come through the other day. Are they interviewing for your?
I would anticipate that they will post that position.
Gotcha.
And to the public, and take applications just as they would with any position. But I don't know what the status is of it right now.
So if that person's not in place by, let's say, our March meeting, who's gonna do this?
He will remote.
Well, I can't tell you how the reports are gonna look. I can tell you that Dan will have a full-on report. I suspect that Lindsley Smith will be sitting in this chair in March when that comes around. But she has great support with Steve Odom and Doug Bankston and Neil Bilby and all the guys down there at the television center. They'll provide her with what she may need. And also, all of the records and the files that I've been keeping are all accessible to her, and she'll be able to deal with all that.
Well, we'll miss you. Good luck. Congrats.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Dan, you want to jump in there, or?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
You're on the, there you go.
There you go, thank you.
It doesn't look like a microphone. All right, it's great to be with you guys this evening. January was an exciting month at the Television Center for Fayetteville Public Access Television. In January, we had the highest number of participations that we've had in a January in over 3 years. But we also had more participations than we had seen in the previous year in that month. So it was very exciting to see that many participations and participants. We had a very solid number of participants staying up from the previous month. And we'll talk more about the things related to that here shortly, but that was definitely one of the highlights. We had 9 new candidate producers and added a new certified producer. And our equipment use was up overall from the previous month. In January, we offered 39 class opportunities. That number tends to stay up in that new arena thanks to the expansion of the contract that happened in 12. We are able to offer more classes, and we feel that that has made a direct result in the number of participants and participations we have seen. As I mentioned, in 2015, we saw higher participations than we had seen definitely in January of the previous year. January of last year was riddled with weather, and so our participations were particularly low that year. The year before that was our great emergence of education. In 2013, we pretty much doubled the numbers from 2012. So in 13, we had exceptional education numbers. In 14, we worked very hard to maintain those numbers and added the dynamic of assisting with productions, which was very exciting. And then in 15, we started off the year very strong with class participations. And I'll just kind of remind you that in August, we had a change-up of personnel, and with that, we changed up our follow-up procedures and our outreach procedures, and we have been really excited about the results that we've seen from that. So I'll be covering more of that information here shortly as well.
Thank you.
So we had 17 participants result in 52 participations, with the average test score being 98%. By and large, when we have participants, they tend to average at 2 participations per participant. In January, we had an unusual 3 participations per participant. So they were very excited to get involved, maybe because of the nice weather, and because of the outreach efforts. We had lots of great people come through the door, and they were excited to come back for more. So we had very exciting participation activity. We had 6 advanced class participations and 5 studio lab participations. Studio Lab is a wonderful thing that we do on Saturday afternoons from 1 to 3 p.m., where studio students have the opportunity to practice their skills, and community members have the opportunity to have shows produced by those volunteer students. So it's a cool opportunity to put the community together with those students and give those students an opportunity to work on a show.
Do you attribute the increase to anything specific besides the weather, or?
I would say outreach and follow-up are the 2 things that we have really modified, especially with my Director of Education, YK Karenbauer, has really implemented some consistent systems of when someone takes a class, we follow up with them at this time, we follow up with them again. We really pay attention more to what their expressed goals are and really try to apply what they're learning to their expressed goals and really try to make the experience as pleasant as possible. And that, I really do believe that change in ethos has made a real impact, which we have been very excited to see in the students and in the participants.
So do we ask them, hey, why are you here? Hey, how'd you hear about us? That sort of thing?
Yes.
We do a survey.
We tend to do a survey, and I'll talk about the survey results later on, but yes, on the back they can tell us how they have heard of us. By and large, it's word of mouth, internet, and then flyers are our 3 biggest awareness advantages at this time.
Good. Thank you.
So as you can see, the chart on the left shows the attendance from October of 2013 to January of 2014. Then on the chart on the right shows you 2014 to last month, 2015. So we have clearly reversed that trend, and we were able to directly impact the numbers of people who were participating and the participants. So you see the participants are the blocks on the bottom, the participations are the line on the top. So everything increased in January, which was very exciting. And since we didn't see each other in December and January, you can see that in November, we had a slight dip in November, but that was still higher than November of the previous year. And then in October, November, December, and January, we have exceeded last year's numbers. So we have, by and large, increased our number of training participants. So on the tests for each class, there is a survey on the back where the students have the opportunity to rate their experience from 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being excellent. So the instructor, being knowledgeable and friendly, got 5s as an average over all of them. The class material presented was in a user-friendly format, 4.98. And then after this class, I feel prepared to apply these skills, was a 4.71. And that's the one that we really focus on and want to make sure that their confidence level, because people are very humble. They'll be like, you know what, even after this class, I don't know if I'm going to do a good job. It is our goal to instill in them a sense of confidence that they will be able to accomplish the goal that they express when they come through the door. And so that number is one that we particularly like to keep an eye on. So these scores and comments can be seen as an indicator that the students are having a positive experience with the educational opportunities at the Television Center. Staff training is an important part of keeping things current. And in January, our staff instructor, YK Karenbauer, participated in a lynda.com class using SpeedGrade. SpeedGrade is a color correction software package in conjunction with Adobe, so that will provide him with additional skills to be able to offer people in the advanced editing classes. And then our tech director, Flint Woods, attended 4 days of training that were provided to become familiar with the city's new website. And then he was able to do as a result of that was replicate the public access website on the city's server for the launch. In January, we added 9 new candidate producers and 1 certified producer. Just to remind you, a candidate producer is someone who has taken orientation and 1 other class so that they're able to utilize the equipment and the resources. And then a certified producer is someone who completes a program for telecast. So that is really the most exciting thing, is when someone has a vision and is able to see that vision all the way through. So as you can see, between the years, we had 16 in 2013 in our great year of educational expansion. Last year we had 2, and now we've got it back up at 9. And if you look at the last couple of months, you see once again that December, having 9 candidate producers in December was very unusual, and we were very excited about that. And then to continue that trend even through the winter months has been very exciting for us. Production activity at the Television Center for public access. Things that were being worked on in the month of January included 3 new episodes of One World View, public access staff production of 4 episodes of short takes. We had studio production activity with Richard S. Drake, and then studio lab production, including a group leading a Qui-Gong class and local musicians Glorious Birds. So I reach out to the community and let them know that there are opportunities to have shows produced with Studio Lab. They contact me back, and then we get them connected with people who have taken the classes at Public Access, and then with a volunteer crew, we produce these shows for the community.
Didn't you do a Fayetteville in January?
I think it was February that we shot the first episode. Giving away next month.
I'm trying to make sure credit goes where it belongs.
I appreciate that. Yes, as far as production activity goes, kind of foreshadowing as such, we began production of Fayetteville's, new episodes of Fayetteville's in February, and I'm also working with Jason Sewell planning Season 2. We've got the first 3 episodes of Season 2 on the books, on the calendar, so we're beginning to book talent for those. So we have the second season of the shows that we were able to kind of seed last year shaping up very nicely, so we're very, very excited about that. As far as equipment utilization goes, we essentially had an increase from December in practically everything except field cameras, which was kind of interesting, because field cameras tend to be our hot item. So really, based on specific projects, based on what's happening at that time, we'll see spikes as someone is working on a project. We'll see dips in between people's projects, but all in all, our equipment use remains steady. And people are very happy with the equipment. We don't have any complaints as far as the equipment. They seem to be very happy with the resources that are available. In January, we had no formal complaints. The programming that we premiered in January included 4 new episodes of Short Takes, 3 new episodes of One World View, a studio lab that we shot in December with local percussionist Anthony Ball. It was a paradiddle drum tutorial. So he brought in his drum kit, and we set up some cameras, and he gave a drum tutorial class that's about 15 minutes that you can watch on public access. So little things like that are a whole lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to produce, and it's fun to be able to watch on the channel. We premiered certified producer Michael Crow's piece, Yard Salient. We are very excited about this piece. It's an art piece that's a poem set to visuals that Michael Crow came in and specifically took the classes up to and including the advanced classes to be able to produce his piece. And to be able to see that premiered in January was very exciting. I encourage you to watch it on the channel. It is a wonderful art piece. And then our new outside programming included new episodes of Chef Ron Locke, which is a fun, fascinating, multi-personality cooking show, and then Keys to the Kingdom, and then others as well. So that it was an exciting month of programming.
So the cooking show.
Yes.
New outside programming included new episodes. So where's he film that?
Those are programs that we get from a PEG Media resource, an online resource that are produced for public access and for other purposes in other places.
Gotcha.
And then we're able to download those and enrich our programming with things like that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Our live stream viewers in January, we had 153 viewers result in 234 sessions. And as we are kind of in between our seasons of production, we notice those numbers go down, and then as we are premiering episodes of things, those numbers tend to go back up. So as far as live stream views, it was a kind of a calmer month for public access, but those spikes are very often directly related to the premieres of shows. We publicize it on social media that it's premiering and with a link, and then people are able to click right on it and go right to the show. Promotional activity in January was very exciting in that. Thanks to the information that we glean from the annual reports, I felt like I was able to really assess some new needs and some new arenas for growth. Specifically in the fact that we are geographically connected to wards 1 and 2. And if you look at our numbers in the reports, previous reports, you notice that our Ward 1 and 2 activity is noticeably higher than our activity from Wards 3 and 4. And that's simply because of a distance issue, in my opinion. So it is my expressed goal in the months to come to reach out to Wards 3 and Wards 4 and just make them aware. I would say our biggest challenge is awareness. Just making people aware of the resources. Once they know about it, they're very excited about it, they want to spread the word, they want to get involved, but just making that initial connection and making them aware is really the important first step that we're trying to make as much as possible. So I went and met with the Boys and Girls Club, because I feel like they are definitely the Ward 4 community presence, and had a great meeting with them. They were very receptive to networking with us as far as the resources that we have at the television center, but then I also let them know that we had the ability to bring workshops and that sort of thing to their facility as well. So we're very excited in that in March, right now we are developing an on-site orientation. Currently, when people want to participate in orientation, they have to come to the television center. The capacity that we have for that class is 8, so we can at most do 8 people at a time. We've had some great networking occur and have had people at the university and like at the Boys and Girls Club, several other places. The Jefferson Adult Education Center have said that they would like to expose, the resources that we have to a larger audience, and so we wanted to and are now pursuing designing a presentation that we can go give, an orientation presentation, including the test. When they're finished, we'll pass out the test, and we'll be able to do orientation on location at other facilities. And then those people, having taken orientation, will be able to come and immediately hop into a field production class or an editing class or a studio class, having done that first step. So it's nice to be able to take that to the community. I also reached out to the Northwest Arkansas Mall. I feel like having a flyer presence at the mall will also make a big difference. So I laid that groundwork, and they are also receptive to us having a presence there. Also, Fritz had the great idea of perhaps setting up short takes right in the center court of the mall, which provides, it definitely presents an audio challenge, but at the same time we get some great new faces and just let people know that the resource is there. So those are things that I am pursuing for the months to come. So that pretty much covers the information that is there.
Good job reaching out. Smart.
Thank you.
Smart. Good job.
And also, since we didn't get to have our annual meeting, it was great running into you at the town center. I felt like the highlight of our December outreach was that we were able to have a booth at Last Night Fayetteville at the town center, right out in front of the main stage. So we saw the majority of the traffic that happened at Last Night Fayetteville. It was a wonderful community. We were able to shoot video of people wishing Happy New Year to the city, and we were able to let people know about the resources, and it seemed to be a great outreach opportunity. So we'll look forward. And I would also say that Last Night Fayetteville was very happy with our presence, and they are interested in having us back next year.
Yeah, you had a good presence there. That was a good spot for that. That was good. Yeah.
Thank you. So as far as Facebook activity goes, now that we've hit the 1,000 like landmark, we're less focused on likes and more focused on reach. Now that we've got 1,000 people who have said they're interested in our information, it is our goal to get that information to as many of them as possible. And as Fritz mentioned earlier, a lot of that has to do with shares and interaction with the posts. So I don't know if you guys have liked Fayetteville Public Access Television, but if you do, you'll notice that on Mondays I post all of the class opportunities that are coming up in the week, and then about halfway through the week I post again about what's coming up in the weekend, and then I try, and my staff try to share that with as many people as possible. We share that in groups like the Omni Center, the community radio. We reach out to lots of different Feed Fayetteville, you know, all the different communities that would be interested in the opportunities that we offer. So we try to get that information out as much as possible, and then we found that, and I'd say the one in January specifically, the spike that we see there where we hit 1,000. When we hit 1,000 reached with a post, then that is a goal of mine. I feel like that actually got in front of a good number of people. We were able to get the word out, and that energy really seems to be coming from the Studio Lab activity. People who are excited about being involved in Studio Lab post about it on their social media, and then we see the wonderful results of that with the reach of those posts. So, in conclusion, we had record-breaking participations. We continued growth in our community of candidate and certified producers. Our equipment use remains steady. We added new programming in January, and we added new outreach efforts, specifically to reach the parts of the community that are geographically further from the television center. And as always, we are striving to find new ways to serve both the city and the users. And I would take this moment to express my gratitude to Fritz. The success that we enjoy at the television center and at public access is directly a result of the hard work of Fritz and my predecessor, Ann Shelley. They dealt with an amazing, rich, and colorful history and laid out for us a blank palette on which to build a new and beautiful structure. And I am very grateful for his leadership and mentorship, and I'm looking forward to continuing the excellence that he has constantly kept us to, and moving forward into the future with the city. The relationship for me as the executive director of the service provider, the positive relationship that we have with the city is key. It is important. It is essential that we have a positive working relationship with the city, that we serve the city, we serve the citizens. That's what we as the service provider are focused on and what we're dedicated to. So we look forward to the RFP this year where we define the next 5 years, and we definitely hope to have the opportunity to continue to provide the service to the city.
Thanks, Dan. Great job. Great job.
Great numbers.
Yes.
Any old business?
Just the board vacancies, do we know if the city has recommended any new or nominated any new board members to the board?
Application deadline is February 27th.
Oh, okay, I thought that was already announced for the previous.
No, the 3 that were open,
for this
opened up to be advertised in the first quarter, as first quarter vacancies, so application deadline is February 27th. And then as those go through March, the nominating committee, and then to the city council for approval. And as was mentioned a little earlier this evening, Cammy English also advised that she will no longer be able to serve on the board. So for the time being, it is the 4 of you. These 3 that are open right now should be filled, I would assume, by the end of March. And then,
I think only 2 of them have been advertised.
okay. Did we not get the 3rd one in time? May not have.
I believe not,
But even having 2 more on the board will help tremendously. And then the others, any that are left, will be advertised in the second quarter. You also have some members who will be terming out in June, so you want to keep an eye on that as well.
Well, I encourage everybody to recruit
Yeah.
applicants.
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent, gentlemen, that this board, even though it's been quite some time, this board developed a reputation of being ineffectual to a certain extent, and got bogged down into infinitesimal detail about things that were non-essential. There were, in the past, many of you didn't witness this. Dr. Smith did, so did I, where there were power plays and there were arguments about things that were, people were trying to assert things that were not workable or even legal in the past. And so the board this board did get an unfortunate reputation. Some of the members that have served on this board subsequent to that in the past 6 years that I've been a part of this, people like Blake Pennington, and several others.
Alderman Tennant.
Alderman Tennant was a member of the board for a while. They brought this board back to being an effective, workable group that provides good advice not only to the city council, but to the staff as well. Your input, not just to the council, but to staff, is invaluable. I strongly suggest that you talk to your fellow citizens about becoming involved. The operation of the television center and what happens with the government channel and the public access channel and the education channel are unique to Fayetteville. Other cities have government channels. There are other cities that have public access channels in different parts of the country. But the way this has been created, the way it was established, and the way it continues to operate is unique. I have not seen another operation anywhere in this country that operates the same way that Fayetteville does. Fayetteville's unique in a lot of ways. This is one of those ways. But it's only going to continue to work, and it's only going to continue to work well if we have a very involved, interested board of people that advise both the staff and the city council, and to work with both groups and to represent the residents and the viewers of these channels. They perform an invaluable service. The city invests hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in this operation, and I think it is most appropriate that an active, interested, qualified group of citizens become involved in the oversight. People come and go, lives change, chapters end, new chapters begin. You're going to see some people come and you're going to see some people go, myself included. Sometimes it's a burden, and sometimes things change and somebody's personal life changes and they can no longer serve. But we can always get new people, and it's not about the cable system anymore. It's not about the cable provider. At one time it was all about managing the cable system. Then it became about managing the public access complaints and those kinds of things and dealing with that. But now, I think we're at a point now where this board can take this operation with the foundation that has been established and to take this well into the future. Because there are possibilities that exist in 2015 that nobody even dreamed about in 1995 that are just exciting and unbelievable, but are going to need the guidance of a group of citizens that are involved and interested. So I applaud the board for the efforts that you put forward to this, and I thank you for all the help that you and all the past board members that I've dealt with since April of 2009 for their input and their help and their insight into making this operation what it is. So thank you very much, and recruit new members.
That's great.
Anything else? Any old business? Any other old business? We good?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second?
Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's have a good night.